Bonjour and welcome to this 7th video of this GDL tutorial. In this video, we'll have a look at the parameter script. So now our 3D is correct, but there are some stuff that can be quite annoying. For example, here, I can have my bottom panel height hovering above my furniture or way below the ground. I can also have, for example, here, a table that is a couple of meters long, like this, without any kind of warning or anything. So here we obviously don't want to do stuff that is too far from reality. So that's where the parameter scripts becomes very useful. So here we will go to the parameter script in the GDL editor. And it is obviously empty. So first, we will introduce a new command, which is the values command. This command here needs a first argument, which is a text here, and this text is the name of the parameter. Yeah. So for example, here we will use a, which is obviously the length parameter here. So here, after that, it needs either a list of values or a range. So first, we will put a list of value. For example, for A, I want it to be constrained to this value. Yeah. I don't want to have my length to be other than this here 5 value. So those values are in meters here, and basically what these commands will put here is that when I will come to my parameter scripts now, in A, I have a list of value. If I save this and I go back into my project and I want to resize this one, now you will see that when it comes to the length, I have some increments here that are visible now. You know, I cannot do anything that I want with my length here. And I am now limited at the maximum at 1 meter and 20 centimeters. As well, I can now see the parameter list here. So now let us do the same with all of our dimension. We will copy paste this one here, new line, and then we'll do the same for B. But for this one, we will simply put 3 values here, 500 millimeter and 600 millimeters. We will do the same now for Zizix here, but for this one, we will do a range. So now we do not have a list of values separated by commas, but here we will have the range keyword, and then we will have here square brackets. And between those brackets, I will have 2 values separated by comma, the minimum and the maximum. With the square brackets, the value here are included. If I want to exclude those values, I will put a parenthesis. I can mix them. And for example, here we'll include 60 centimeters, but we'll exclude 30 centimeters, and we'll start at, for example, 30.011. But that for me, I want to include it, so I will put brackets. I will do the same here for my bottom panel height. Here. For my range as a minimum, I will put, for example, 150. But for my here maximum, I will put a formula, which will be Zizix divided by 2. Like that, I am sure that it will never go above Zizix. It could be, for example, 3 if you want, but 2 should be more than enough. Then what we can do is that we can do the same for leg distance, leg diameter, and also panel thickness. those three. For this one, this will be a range as well. Here, and I will just copy this part of code so I can paste it for the other one. Yeah. For this one, we will put 50 millimeters, and we will give it, as it is a leg distance here, we do not want it to pass the middle of the width here. So what we will do here is that we will put b divided by 3, like that. The maximum for this value will always be a third of the width here. Then for my diameter, we will go like this, 40 millimeters, which is quite nice, and maybe a maximum of here 100 millimeters. And then for the thickness of my panel, we will go for very small, 5 millimeters, and maybe something like 40 as well. You can choose the value that you want here. You do not have to strictly follow what I'm writing. You can play around with the value here. This is not a problem. So here, let us check everything good. Let us save and see the results. So now here, if I resize, you can now see that everything is properly constrained. My height here is also constrained to a maximum. This is 600. If I put 1, it will automatically put it at the maximum. If I put 0.1 as well. If I want to have the minimum, I can simply here resize it so it is lower. And you can see here that it will automatically change the height of the bottom panel if it is above size x divided by 2. Here, my size x as well can also be resized if I want to. And now everything is as I want it to be. Here you can also see in the option of this object here that we have some description. We can fill this one with value that can be constrained as well by us. So here I go back to my parameter script, and what I will do here is introduce a new command that is called parameters. This command here needs a setup. It needs a value that needs to be updated in my parameter list first. So here we will cut it first and then have a look at the parameter that we want to fill. I want to fill here the manufacturer and the location, and also I want to fill the serial number and the production year. So here what I will do is this: GS list manufacturer equal GS list. I had it was location, then the other one was FM serial number, and the last one was FM production year. Here, equal. Now I want to put the values that needs to be filled in my description. So this will be me. This will be friends. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Important to note here, in my parameter list, all those values except a couple of one are string parameter. So obviously, as they are text, they need to be within quotes. And for the production year, 2023. Here I have the same role, so I like to align of all those codes here, so it looks a bit more proper that way. Then what I will do is that I will use the parameters command here, and here is the tricky part. I will need to equal it to itself almost. here basically is that I will update this here parameter, which is this one here, with the value of that parameter basically. So that's why it looks a bit weird, but I'm updating different value at a different stage basically. So it's a bit complicated to explain, but to make it simple, that's what we are doing here. So here I will do the same for this one, and also the production year. And now if I go into my parameter list, you can now see that the manufacturer is properly written. Important to note, this cannot be changed because now this is a forced value. If here, for example, I want to put USA, here it reverts back to France immediately. So here I can eventually lock those parameters, so I do not tempt the user to be able to change in a context that it cannot. So here, because I cannot change this, I will lock those parameters here. In order to lock parameters, you need to introduce another command, which is lock. Lock expects some text parameter, which are the name of the parameter that you want to lock. So here I want to lock this one, for example. And if I go into my parameter now, you can see that the parameter is grayed out. I cannot even enter the field anymore. So this is a solution. And if you want to lock multiple parameters, you can obviously put several locks like this, or you can separate the parameter name with a comma. And now we will see that my location is grayed out as well. So now let us save and go back into 3D and see the result. Let me just here and see, for example, at 600 like this. Okay, so here now you can see in my description that well, those parameters are grayed out and those one has failed. You can also see that in my classification, I obviously have the table IFC classification that is tied to it, but you can also see that I have some IFC parameters that are tied to a specific IFC pset. For example, here, this is the manufacturer pset. And now I also have the specific value that I filled directly in my object, directly filled in this classification and properties submenu. So here, what we will do finally for the parameter is that you can see in my custom parameter submenu, things are a bit messy. So we will just clean this up. Here in my parameter list, we will use some more parameters to have something a bit better. I will create a new one that I will here name, for example, XX option. Now you do not need to have the specific prefix. You can do what you want. You can create it like this option if you want. It doesn't really matter. But I just like to follow the same naming style as Archicad. This one I will put option. And here it is a tricky part is that if you want to create a title, here it will automatically overwrite what you just written here. So here you need to create the title first and then put the name here. Now what it will do is that it will put all my parameter here under here. So this is what I want. Here what I need to do is put this parameter under the GS2D representation here. Here we have some 3D parameter and we will create a new menu. 3D. Here, 3D representation. Like this. And here I made the same mistakes. title first, and then name. And this one, we will put it under this title. If I click on this button, it will create a submenu that can be opened and closed. For this one, I did not put it like that, so they are always visible. It's a bit better in my opinion. And then what I will do is I will also change this one in English, so we clean all the object. Height, this one is already contour pen, fill type, line type already, fill pen. We are not using the fill pen and the back pen, so we will hide those parameters like this. This one is already translated, and this one will be leg material and top material. Sorry. I prefer the top to be at the top. So here I will put top first and then leg second. And for this one, if you want to, you can also translate them as well. Here. You can see that I do not have access to those parameters because they are grayed out. If I want to change the name, I will need to comment this line out first and then change it. Here and location. And now I can simply reactivate the line and all is good. We will keep the rest as is. Now let me save. And now when I go into my option, you can now see that my menu is a bit better. Here I have my option directly visible, and then for the rest of the secondary option, I can simply open the submenu if I want to. Here I will probably put it in English as well. But if I want also to have the option to be a menu that can be closed and open, then I simply need to here click on this button as well. And now when I save and come back into my project and go into my option, here you can see that now the menu is openable or closable. So I prefer to be it to be visible all the time because those are major options. So that's why I will keep it that way. And now the result is the way I want it to be. So here the only thing is that it hasn't to the presentation, sorry, like this. Now if I save, everything will be all right. All good. So that is all for this geometry and this object. In the next video, which will be the last, we will do some finishing touches. So see you on the next one.